Cover 3 Tailgate. And welcome back to the Cover 3 podcast here on CBS Sports. That's Tom Fernelli. That's Bud Elliott. That's Danny Cannell. I'm Chip Patterson coming to you live at youtube.com/Cover3 and everywhere you get your podcasts on demand. Thanks for hanging out. Smash that subscribe, smash that like, and come and join us in the chat, a.k.a. the Cover 3 Tailgate, where they are getting fired up and ready for an extra special edition of Big Game Breakdown. Some of the biggest games of the year. That's right, the college football playoff first round. We are going to be giving you the X factors, the keys to the game in all four. 1 game Friday, 3 game Saturdays, all 4 of the college football playoff first round games. But before we do that, speaking of bowl season, we loved our competition with you, everybody in the tailgate. We enjoyed it with our friends from Splash, and we just heard something. Beep, 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 beep. Hot off the presses, boys. We've got a new Cover 3 Bowl Pick'em. That's right. Bowl season is here, and we're teamed up again with Splash Sports for a Bowl Pick'em contest. 0 entry fee and $5,000 in Splash Cash is on the line, plus the ultimate bragging rights of getting to be supreme among the Cover 3 Tailgate. Let me walk you through it. Here's how it works. Pick all bowl games against the spread. The twist, you pick one game as your best bet that's worth double the points. So choose wisely. That best bet is everything. Do you ride with the playoff teams or fade the public on a spicy underdog? It's pure strategy. Confidence meets risk reward. First place takes home $1,500 in Splash Cash for a free entry, and we're paying out the top 10 spots. So you've got a legitimate shot to win cash even if you're not perfect. In total, we're talking $5,000 in total prizes. Again, 0 entry, all yours for the taking. Go to splashsports.com/cover3. I'll say it one more time. Splashsports.com/cover3. Free to enter. Takes about 2 minutes. Lock in your picks and rep the Cover 3 community. And let's find out who really knows ball. Tom?
Yeah, but I can't win, can I?
I think you can win. I think you can win bragging rights, certainly. You could, hey, how about this, Tom? You could win, and maybe you can donate to Illinois' NIL the same way that John Summerall is making a donation to Tulane's NIL on the way out the door. I mean,
we should look into that. We should look into whether we can donate the winnings to our NIL funds.
All right, we'll send it to our legal team to dig into it. But yeah, it's right here on the headline. By the way, by the end of the show, we are going to get to the latest portal buzz because we've got DJ Lagway announcing that he's going to enter the transfer portal. Some thoughts on where he might go. We've got Lenora Sellers nearing a deal to return to South Carolina. The latest portal ins and outs, the latest coaching carousel, all that stuff's going to come a little bit later before we get out of here. But we got to get to it. It's a big game breakdown. Before we jump into the big game breakdown, a quick shout out to Amazon Prime. Last minute holiday gifts, no problem. Prime's fast, free shipping keeps you covered. Holiday wins delivered, it's on Prime. We're going to go in chronological order, which means we start on Friday night. Number 9, Alabama at number 8, Oklahoma. One of a couple rematches that we've got here in this college football playoff. DK, what do you think might be different about this edition? In addition to the setting, the time of day, might be a little chilly, you know? We might have some conditions in Norman. How are you attacking this about in terms of what these teams might have learned from each other, what kind of adjustments we might see?
I mean, if you listen to Kalen DeBoer after the first game, he's like, we moved the ball just fine. We just need Ty Simpson not to throw a pick six and we're okay. So I would expect Alabama to be a little bit more, I don't want to say careful. I just think they're going to try to have Ty Simpson play better. But I mean, for somebody who threw 21 touchdowns, 1 interception through the first 8 games, and then the last 4 had 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, when I look at Alabama, that's the tailspin. Like that's when it started to come unraveling for Alabama. And I don't know if it's a confidence thing with Ty Simpson, like he was, all of a sudden rattled, or it was teams realizing, oh, wait, they cannot run the football. So we don't have to worry about stopping the run. We can we can blitz the passer. We can do anything we want. And we don't have to worry about them running the football. So I think this game is really interesting to see how, what adjustments Alabama makes. I know Kalen DeBoer, I hope he thinks they're healthy. Is Jam Miller going to be back? Like 13 players were out for the SEC championship game. How many of those guys come back? So I think, I don't think you'll see much differently. You're just hoping that Ty Simpson plays better and takes better care of the football.
I'm right there with you on this. I think, look, like, obviously, if you're Bama, you're like, hey, we moved the ball just fine in these guys. We doubled up in yardage in the first matchup. We were the better team. Turnovers they're not only luck, but they do have a large luck component, and especially turnovers for touchdowns, like an extremely large, like obviously there's a pretty big randomness factor as far as turnovers. And then what happens once you get the turnover, it's also like extremely random. Otherwise, like the best defense in the country would always lead the nation in turnovers forced and obviously like scores off turnovers. So, if you're Bama, you're like, hey, we just run it back. We do a little bit better with our blitz protection so that we don't get some of these kill shots on Simpson, which is a major question of mine here. Like,
how healthy is he?
Yeah. Is he healthy? I mean, like I know you've seen kind of the buzz on Twitter. I haven't seen anybody like a I don't want to use the term like serious reporter. Like different people have
the
sources.
Burners. Hey, the Burners have been right about some stuff in the last couple of weeks.
Burner's been damn right on this Michigan stuff for a while.
Yeah, and my feed is unfortunately just needs a cleanse because it is just flooded with college football Burners at this point. I look forward to that happening eventually. But yes, like social media rumors are calling into question the health of Ty Simpson, who we haven't heard anything from Alabama, but I understand why you would ask that for sure.
One of my big questions here is like, what does Oklahoma's offense look like? I mean, I think we're assuming, hey, they're hot garbage. They've been bad all year. Like they can't score more than 20 points, but we don't like they've had like 17 days to prep for this. They didn't play an SEC championship game, right? Like they have not played in a while. Like, can they may not need more than like 24 to win this. So can you scheme up a couple scores? I think Arbuckle is a hell of an offensive coordinator, right? Like, can he find a way to scheme open some stuff to play against tendencies and like give Mateer some easy stuff that he can see? Because Mateer doesn't read it out real well. We've talked about this on the show quite a bit. Like, can you find a way to make that happen? And like Bama defensively, I mean, Xavier Brown went down in that game. Jefferson went down in that game. Overton didn't play. Like those are some fairly important pieces for those guys. I don't know what their status is. I think that the spread says they're probably good to go. Otherwise, like if you don't have all those dudes, is Bama really favored in Norman? But like overall, I think they're probably going to go. I would think, or maybe they could have come back in the game and because the game didn't really matter in Atlanta, or at least.
Or it was sideways. I mean, like they could have looked out there and said, "Well, look, we're not going to put them back in."
Yeah,
like we said, 28-7, but it felt like 50-7 with just the way that the competition had been tilted.
I am curious to see if Bama cannot give up any freebies defensively, because like if you've made this Oklahoma team drive, they have pretty much driven off a cliff, right? So can you not allow that huge touchdown to Satania, which has seemed to save their butts like 3 games in a row now? Mm-hmm. So like that's my major question there.
We have spent a lot of this season talking about Oklahoma's offense, about how bad Oklahoma's offense is, and how some of us don't want to see them in the playoff because we know that their offense isn't good enough to actually go on a run here. We've also talked about Alabama's struggles in recent weeks. And in the first game, Alabama doubled up in yardage, committed 3 turnovers, lost. But Josh Cuevas was their leading receiver in that game. He hasn't played in a game since. How healthy is he? Will he be one of the guys that returns? Because clearly that was a matchup they liked in the first game. But overall, Alabama's offense, since the South Carolina game, so their last 6 games, they have finished with a negative EPA per play in 5 of those games. The only time they finished with a positive was against Eastern Illinois. So in their last 5 games against FBS opponents, they are not playing well on offense. You look at the first 7 games of the year, they averaged 3.43 points per drive. In those last 5 FBS games, that's been halved to 1.7. Their success rate in the first 7 games was 46.3%. The last 5, it's at 39%. Oklahoma in its last 6 games, 1.64 points per drive, 34.8%. So pretty much the same production Alabama's giving you. And we've talked about Oklahoma's offense all year. For the last half of the season, Alabama's offense has been performing slightly above Oklahoma's. So you're going into this matchup where they're now on the road, unlike in the first game in Norman. They're banged up. The rumors about Ty Simpson's injury, like, I don't know how confident we should be in Alabama going on the road and winning this game. I think there's a very real chance that Oklahoma can win this one because, like Bud mentioned, they've had nearly 3 weeks off by the time this thing kicks off to be able to get ready for it and be able to just kind of figure some stuff out. They have the first game to understand what was working for them and what wasn't. I do think the bigger question will be, can they run the ball against Alabama? Because they certainly couldn't run the ball against them in that first game. And I think they're going to want to try at least a little bit to establish that a bit, because you don't want Mateer doing everything. Because when John Mateer feels like he has to do everything, that's when he really starts getting loose and crazy with the ball. So that's going to be interesting to me. And also, going back to that first game, Alabama's been pass heavy all year. They throw the ball 55.2% of the time. That ranks 27th. But they threw the ball 61% of the time against Oklahoma. They didn't think they could run the ball, and then it proved to them that they couldn't run the ball, so they just stopped trying to run the ball in that game. I think that you need to try to run the ball in this, because if you look at their last 2 games, Simpson's been pressured on 41% of his dropbacks against Auburn and Georgia. The offensive line has not been very good. People kind of know what Alabama's trying to do. Defenses are putting years back and going after him. You need to take like some of the literal weight off his back, if you catch what I'm saying, by handing it off and not making him do it all. So I think this could be kind of an ugly kind of rock fight kind of game.
I'm curious to see how much tempo they go here, but meaning Bama. Like they have played very slow this year. We saw this last year in the playoff a little bit. Like there are some teams, Ohio State, who played really slow throughout the year, and then at times in the playoff they broke out some tempo stuff. Man, against Venables, like they run so many different things on defense. Like if I'm Bama, I think I go a little more tempo and just give my offense more cracks at this. Like
first of all, change your signs and then go tempo.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. I think our Mason Thomas may play here, which has been big. He's been out for the entirety so far. So I'm curious to see, like, does he go? I think Oklahoma's pretty healthy defensively. Like the injury questions are more on the Alabama side for me.
What's scary about Oklahoma, as you mentioned, our Mason Thomas, he goes. Taylor Wine's been awesome, kind of stepping up in his absence. I mean, so now they got depth to be able to shuttle through. But we haven't even mentioned who's going to have the biggest impact in this game, and it was huge in the first one.
Bowen?
The kicker with the short shorts.
Oh, yeah.
Just took home the Ray Guy Award. Tate Sandell, Oklahoma's kicker. I'm telling you, because I think we're all in agreement. Like, maybe a little tease for the locks later in the week. I mean, I think this is going to be a lower scoring game where possessions are at a premium. Field goals are going to be at a premium. And I do think that's a significant edge to Oklahoma in that one, with one of the best kickers in the country on their side. And Alabama's kicking woes historically have always kind of stepped up to bite them a little bit. So I know they have a better kicker now, but I think it could be one of those games where field goal kicking is huge.
All right.
Something to keep in mind then, if you're thinking about field goal kicking, like the temperature for this game is supposed to be in the 50s. So it's not going to be a frigid game.
Yeah.
But current forecasts are saying the wind's going to be about 15 to 20 miles per hour during this one. So that could have an impact on that.
Yep.
It's gonna be windy in Norman.
Coaching edge Alabama, though, right?
On
Yes.
offense, yeah.
I think it's a really good chess match.
Yeah.
I think it's a really good chess match.
Okay. Kalen DeBoer in big games, still pretty nails. You know, like I understand we saw him in the SEC championship, but the overall sample size of Kalen DeBoer against ranked opponents is still kind of absurd. The thing that Alabama fans are frustrated about, or especially last season and the opener against Florida State, the ones that are like, whoa, why'd you lose that one? You had more talent. You should have taken care of business there. And, you know, whether it's against Dan Lanning, who he's 3-0, you know, whether it's against Steve Sarkisian, whether it's against, you know, Kirby Smart just got his first win against Kalen DeBoer. It's, go ahead.
What's Kalen's record against Brent Venables?
0-1.
0-2.
0-2.
That's right.
Yeah.
Last year as well. I do think Bud's point about Alabama's defense. Like, you just can't give up that one big play.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, watching Oklahoma's offense is so ugly and hard to watch. And Bud called it out last time. Mateer missed like a wide open throw. You could tell the crowd was starting to get restless, like getting ready to boo. And then bang, you hit Isaiah Satania coming on a crossing route. It was a pretty good throw from Mateer. He had to drop it down a little bit. But those are just backbreaking, especially in those low-scoring games when one big play or two could be the difference. That to me is, man, tackling is going to be at a premium for Alabama. Like, do not give up that big play.
Totally agree. I mean, look, I think Oklahoma's defense is their nails. And like part of the reason we think that is because they make bad offenses look really bad. You can nitpick this a little bit. And this is not sliding Oklahoma. It's just like, hey, you got what? Bryce Underwood in his first ever road start. You got Auburn when they were really, really a mess offensively against a quarterback you had in your building last year, Jackson Arnold, right? You got Texas, and they were not very good on offense this year. You got South Carolina, again, like a bad offense, like legitimately a bad offense this year. Ole Miss, no problems against you, 34, right? Tennessee put up, 27 on 456 yards offense. Bama went over 400 against them. So, like the three offense, and they played LSU, which was, dumpster fire on offense. They played Missouri, which quarterback came back and didn't look, anything special at all, right? Like Oklahoma's defense is really, really good. Like, I don't want to get like this point taken out of context, but the three offenses that I think we would define as like good or better all went 400 plus on them.
I think it's just what your eyes tell you about the defensive line and just our fundamental understanding of like, well, when you've got those guys and they're playing with their hair on fire and you've got some good scheme, then it's just going to cause you're just not going to be able to be on the front foot on offense. You're just going to be really concerned about it. Great question from the tailgate. I'd like to bring it back here. Who do you think Indiana wants to win? The winner of this goes on to play Indiana in the Rose Bowl.
I think you want Oklahoma.
I would rather have Oklahoma.
Yeah, I'd rather have a more one-dimensional team.
I was actually able to ask an Indiana fan this last night, and they said Oklahoma.
Is that just because Indiana is so good at like not giving up freebies?
Yeah,
and I think if you're Cincinnati, you're like, hey, the variance with Bama and those receivers is just bigger.
Oh,
right?
okay,
like,
fair.
They might beat our guys in one-on-ones. Like Oklahoma might be playing at a slightly better level on average, maybe down the stretch. And I think, like to Tom's point, that's fair. But like, if you don't give up freebies to Oklahoma's offense, I think you fully expect to hold them to like the teens.
Yeah.
And as bad as Ty Simpson has played, there was a stretch where he was really good. Like I would be way more concerned about stopping Ty Simpson and those weapons as opposed to Mateer.
Yeah, and like to me, the biggest difference between the Saban Tide and the DeBoer Tide we've seen the last 2 years is just the consistency. Whereas like you knew who you were getting with Saban's at Tide every single week. I still think that when Alabama plays its A game, it is really good. It's just it doesn't play its A game every week now.
And we just haven't seen it late season. So it feels like it's been a long time since we've seen Alabama's best. Anything else here before we hit a break and then turn our attention to Saturday's triple header? Any other matchups to watch, curiosities, things that you're going to be digging on during the week? I mean, health, right? Is
health for sure.
Is Alabama's fatal flaw the health or is it the offense? Like if each team has one flaw that could expose and bounce them from this playoff bracket, what's Bama's?
I think you can win this game with the same offense you've been running out there if your defense makes Oklahoma's offense look as bad as it's been down the stretch. If Oklahoma, because you have a bunch of defensive guys out, is scoring in the mid to high 20s, then I think you're in a little more trouble.
Coming up on the other side, we turn our attention to Saturday's playoff game, starting with Carson Beck, Marcel Reed, Miami, Texas A&M, and more. Next.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
Back here on the Cover 3 podcast, continuing with our big game breakdowns for the first round of the college football playoff. Now we've got Miami, the 10 seed, last team in the field, going to take on Texas A&M. So this is a matchup that we saw a couple years ago. What was it, Mario year one, Jimbo last year? Was it the last year of Jimbo? And then
Yeah, that was, we all wanted under there hard.
yeah.
And like wanted it early in the week, and then it got hammered, and we're like, still an under, I think. And it was nasty.
it was a ground and pound type game. Now, I will say that we've got offenses that can go out there and score a little bit here. I'm not going to, tip my hand one way or the other on if I'm going to be looking at the total, but if you see it here, 51.5, watching on youtube.com/cover3, not expecting fireworks, but not expecting anything close to that Alabama-Oklahoma rock fight, according to the odds makers. Tom, here, as you start peeling this matchup back, what are the most important parts to you?
A few things stick out to me that will be interesting to watch how they play out. One is Miami's been phenomenal down the stretch, but Miami hasn't played anybody for a while. And like this was when we were talking about Texas A&M Texas a couple weeks ago. Like they played Notre Dame earlier in the year, and it's like you do wonder if you go that long without playing a really, really good team, how prepared you're going to be when you have to face that really, really good team. And I think Miami's in a similar situation. So it will be interesting for them to do this against a very good A&M team. But also I think the most interesting aspect of this is that they're playing on the road. And Miami's only played 4 road games this year. And they lost one of them to SMU. But offensively, they've kind of been the same team on the road, but defensively hasn't been nearly as good when they left Coral Gables. Like they allowed 0.62 points more per possession. Their success rate drops from 66% to 58%. Their explosive rate explodes from 7% to 11.5%. And their pass EPA goes from 0.20 per drop back to negative 0.05, which is a pretty significant drop. So for whatever reason, defensively, they have not been the same team outside of Miami. And now they're going to be on the road in a very, 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 very loud environment. And it's going to be interesting to see how they adapt to that and how they handle it. And then also because we've seen Carson Beck, when he faces good defenses and he gets kind of flustered and you put pressure on him, he will make mistakes. So can they protect Carson Beck? Can they continue to give him clean pockets like he has seen for the last month and allow him to just do what he does best? Or will Texas A&M get that pressure on him? I think that's going to be key.
Agreed. I think the run game is going to be huge for both. I mean, like if you said what's the one, and it's pretty cliche, but I do think this is a game where I like both quarterbacks, but they are kind of similar in the fact they've been pretty up and down. Like what version are you going to get? So I think if you can shut down the run and turn this into a quarterback game, like that's probably an advantage. I also I think both these teams have really good run games. So I'm kind of curious to see. Miami's been sprinkling in Pringle more, the freshman, who's kind of added an element to their run game that they didn't have. I mean, I'm trying to see if Le'Veon Moss, any update on his health, if he's playing or not for A&M, would be interested to see. Reuben Owen's been pretty good for them, so they've had the two-headed monster, but you kind of want to be full strength going into this one. So then, and it just takes the pressure off your quarterback. I mean, I think both of these schools, you want to be in more manageable situations. I think if it's 3rd and 12, 3rd and 9 plus, with both of these teams, you're kind of like, like almost not wanting to watch what happens. You're like, I hope we don't hope we don't screw this up. So I think the run game is going to be huge. It was interesting. Bernie in there says Miami run game is trash. It was trash at SMU, and they've got to get a little bit more creativity. They kept running the same concept over and over to zero success. So we'll see if they can sprinkle some new looks in there, come up with some action that'll work a little bit better than they had against SMU.
I kind of think that both these defenses have to feel pretty good here. So A&M wants to play a lot of man coverage. Beck is not a run threat at all. So, I think you can do that without the fear of being burned, by Carson scrambling. He's also not a guy who throws on the run real well. So I do think if you're A&M, it's like, all right, cool. We don't have to get out of our comfort zone here in order to play our defensive game plan that we want to play. They have been run on a little bit this year, though. Texas ran the ball on them pretty well. So I'm sure if you're Miami, you're like, all right, but we think we can move this front a little bit. It's not quite as good maybe as it was in past years against the run. I also want to see if Scooby Williams plays, pretty nice linebacker for them. I think he was on, did he not play against Texas or did he go down against Texas? I forgot, but I know he's one I have circled there. On the other side, I really think that Miami has a pretty good chance here, even though I like A&M's offensive line a lot, to get home with 4 and not have to blitz. And I think that allows you. A&M's a really good screen team, and if you're not having to blitz them a whole lot, I think that gives you more eyeballs and more arms to tackle those screens, right? So that's kind of going to be the key. Can Miami run the ball, and what does A&M do? If that's kind of your game. If Miami gets home with 4, I do not think Marcel Reed is a good enough passer, and if they're getting home with 4, they will have more bodies against the screen game. If A&M can block Miami's down 4, you got to make them start doing a lot more blitz stuff, which I don't think they're quite as good at. That's not really a thing that Heatherman did a lot when he was at Minnesota, and Miami hasn't had to do that a lot this year. So if the A&M offensive line steps up and they can get these guys, they can get the 4 blocked, I think A&M's got a pretty good shot to score because then they'll pop some screens. Miami's got to blitz them a lot. If not, then I would have some real worries for the Aggies there.
I got a question because we all agree Miami has a very good defensive line. We agree that Texas A&M has a good offensive line. So you think Miami can get the pressure with 4. What's the last offensive line Miami's faced that was in anywhere near the same stratosphere as Texas A&M's?
I mean, exactly right. Nobody. Syracuse is awful. SMU is okay.
Yeah.
But you can't say Pitt. I was going to push back earlier. Yeah, I was going to push back earlier.
That's a huge thing
Pitt's
for me
bad.
to look at. Yeah, that's that was one of those things where I was looking at this matchup. I'm like, man, it's I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh, they're going to get stonewalled because it's a really good defensive line. But it's just man, I can't remember the last time Miami's had to face an offensive line this good. So I was just actually excited to see the matchup.
Very weird question to ask here, though, Tom. What is the last big-time defensive line that Texas A&M faced?
Yeah, I know.
Right. Both of these teams are kind of similar. Right. They haven't been tested very much, and the times they haven't, been great.
Yeah, I mean,
it's going to be an interesting game to watch.
I know. And it'll get the day started too. Oh man, whoever loses this game is going to be so pissed.
To their credit, A&M handled LSU's D-line quite well, and I think LSU is pretty good.
And Texas has body. I mean,
Texas is a good D-line.
Yeah, good D-line. Yeah. I think Texas A&M's offensive line is awesome. I think
it's much more battle tested, I think, than Miami's D-line is.
Yes.
And I came into this season, obviously, with a lot of focus on Miami's offensive line. And I think that is still a huge part of their offensive success. But maybe that's the preseason bias versus what you see. I at the end of the season, I'm like, yeah, but the Maroon Goons are awesome. That Aggies offensive line could really cause some problems. And talk about the run game. I think EJ Smith has been really good, stepping up with a little bit more reps. There's just a lot of depth and versatility in that room where no updates yet from Moss. I don't think in terms of whether Le'Veon Moss will be able to come back, but I still think they've got a lot of bodies to be able to, try to keep that Miami defense from pinning its ears back.
Agreed.
I'm curious to go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Danny.
Honestly, I'm curious to see Malachi Toney, who, won a state championship as a quarterback. They've been wrinkling him in a little bit more in the past game, some trick plays, some wildcat package. He is a weapon. And then I totally agree. Somebody in the chat put in there that the CJ Daniels has to step up because I do think Malachi Toney is going to consume a lot of attention when he's straight up receiver. And I saw CJ Daniels step up against Florida State in a huge way. That was probably one of his best games. So he's got it in him. So this could be one where he needs to step up and have a big game.
The other injury to watch here is Keontae Scott, who's a really good DB for Miami. Not sure if he's going to play. He's been out. So if he's out, that is it. He's been really good for them. That's why I think it's so important to get home with 4 because you're going to need more bodies against them in the screen game there.
They're a little bit low on defensive backs in general, right? Just through the season have taken a little bit of attrition in that sort of that end of the depth chart.
Not quite as bad as it was the end of last year. I think they did a good job of throwing bodies at the problem in the portal this offseason. But they're definitely not as healthy as they once were.
I do think that's interesting too, because we talked a lot about Miami's defensive back overhaul in the portal this offseason, and it's worked. Good job, everybody. But they're facing Concepcion and Craver here. Probably the 2 best receiver, as far as receiver cores, I would argue it's the best receiver core they've seen all year. And if their defensive line doesn't get the same kind of pressure that they're accustomed to getting week in and week out, do we see the secondary struggle in a way we haven't had to see them deal with so far this year? But I will say, overall, this is a great narrative bowl for fans. because no matter who loses, somebody was a fraud the entire time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
so excited. And it'll be 11 a.m. local.
Yeah.
It'll kick off the day. Neither of these teams have ever participated in the college football playoff before. Oh, buddy.
You like how I think it was really smart for ESPN, ABC to like sacrifice the 2 games that are supposed to be blowouts. We'll see when we preview those. But saying, you know what, we'll sacrifice those to the NFL. We'll put those in we'll take the Friday night prime time. We'll take the early window before the NFL games kick off, and then we'll see what happens in the late ones.
Danny, I was told on Twitter that it's completely random. Actually, random, dude.
No.
Interesting.
I was very upset yesterday, by the way, to find out that the Bears-Packers game this week is on Saturday night.
Saturday
Ooh.
night, 8 p.m. kickoff.
Yeah.
2 screens. Get them up.
There
I
is an
know, but
obvious zone thing here.
It's not the same.
Like you wouldn't put the Oregon game at 11 Eastern or
Right.
11 Central. Like that would be
Right.
silly.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's 8 local.
Right.
Or no, excuse me,
Yeah.
9 local. Yeah, 100%. Any other X factors that we should watch here in this one? Another fun game. What's Miami's
Lazy
payoff
alert.
ball?
Well, yeah. What is the prop bet for interceptions for each quarterback? 1.5?
I would set
No,
it at
or is it
1.5.
a half?
1.5
I would heavily
combined.
juice the under.
You could
You
just
would.
parlay over 0.5 for both of them.
This is like I think the most important leverage game because like it's a higher total a little bit. You know, I really don't trust Reed on obvious passing downs. And I really trust Elko's third down defense. They're like their third down packages are really good. They seem to pride themselves on it. They get off the field really well on third down, especially when you don't have to respect the run and you don't have to respect Beck's legs at all. So like whoever can stay ahead of the chains a little bit. That's why I think tackling the screen game, it's such an extension of A&M's run game is so important here.
A lot of fun. Again, that game will get you started on Saturday. Then in the afternoon, we'll be heading out to the Grove Vaught-Hemingway Stadium. Another college football playoff, another pair of college football playoff rookies as John Summerall leads Tulane in to take on Ole Miss. Now, we saw this one before. It was 45-10. Some things have changed. Obviously, Ole Miss will not be having Lane Kiffin roaming the sidelines. That will be new head coach Pete Golding, though Charlie Weiss Jr. and a few other assistants have rejoined the team in preparation for this game. John Summerall, since the first game, led Tulane on the way to an American Athletic Conference championship, but also accepted the Florida job. And that includes the fact that DJ Lagway, is in the transfer portal, and other Florida Gators are now starting to eye their exits as well. So there's a lot on the mind of John Summerall. Can they make it closer?
Yeah. I think it's possible. Yeah.
I mean, is there anything that Tulane has learned that could change the way that this game goes? The things that stood out to me, obviously Jake Retzlaff, that was early, right? Before he had sort of settled in.
Yeah.
The problem was probably more on the side of letting Ole Miss just blow through your defense. And I don't know if the Green Waves defense, they did a good job against North Texas, I don't know what I'm hanging my hat on in terms of this Tulane defense right now, outside of the reputation of its head coach who's leaving.
I think Tulane got scripted out of that game real quick.
Like just the fast start, and then all of a sudden they never had a chance.
Like I think in order to make this game competitive, Tulane has to get off to a much better start than they did in that game, and that's no duh. But it's like they were epically bad to start. Retzlaff was 0 for his first 9. He ended up getting benched for Brendan Sullivan in the game. And so Tulane immediately found itself down multiple scores. And once Tulane's down multiple scores, it can't really play the way that it wants to play. So I think you need to figure out ways to run the ball better than you did in that game, because they did run the ball somewhat effectively in that matchup compared to, the opponent that they were playing. It wasn't awful. But I do think that the biggest problem Tulane faces in this game, or in any game it was playing in this tournament, it's got the worst defense in the playoff by far.
Yeah.
By a lot. And you mentioned it, Chip. Ole Miss scored on 8 of its 11 possessions in that first game, and one of those was the final possession, just kneeling it out at the end. So really it was 8 of 10. They have to figure out ways to get stops, and that has been a problem for them for most of the season. They have been a team that has to go and outscore its opponents far more often than anything. So that's, I don't know. And here's a fun stat. Of of Ole Miss's 10 actual drives, 6 of them went at least 60 yards.
What's that available yards percentage? Like 80?
High.
Yeah.
I think that's very fair. As far as like finding a way for this to be closer, sure. Ole Miss is like sloppy. They drop some passes, all the changeover. Like if you're looking for like on the field football reasons, I think it's tough. But like you can't ignore all the changeover going at both programs, right? So, and I don't know if we can necessarily assume that like one team's going to handle it well, one team won't. Maybe they both handle it poorly. Maybe one team handles it great and one team doesn't. That's probably your best path for this to be, closer. Ole Miss's pass rush is not great. Like it's decent. Now they were fine against Tulane in that first game. So I think Tom's point though is like Tulane has allowed more than 6 yards of play 6 times this year, and more than 7 twice, and that was Ole Miss and UTSA. So I just don't think their secondary is great. Like if something doesn't change, they're going to go through them like a buzzsaw, much like the saw you're hearing right outside my window right now because you're picking that up on the microphone here. I think his legs are important here.
Yeah.
Like he ran a lot this year, and then the final 3 games of regular season ran almost none. And I assuming because he was, dinged. Then he ran more against North Texas there in the conference championship game. But like, does he have the athletic advantage against Ole Miss? I don't like. There's a big difference between doing that in the American and doing that against Ole Miss. Like he didn't do that at BYU nearly as well, right? Because there's a different quality of athlete. So I that's going to be key to watch. Like, do his legs actually play a factor here? I'm a little skeptical.
I do think too. There is something to what was that? His 3rd or 4th game? First
Yeah,
time
and no spring practice.
He's gonna be more comfortable in the system where he'll know where to go with the football quickly. He'll have a better grasp of that. And I do think I don't think he's gonna light up Ole Miss's defense with his legs, but I do think he can make it a headache. You can extend plays a little bit, you can extend drives, you can get away a little bit from that first pressure. But he's not gonna be running all over him. Bud, did you start a GoFundMe for Tulane and JMU's injured players yet?
Not yet. No. I might be selling some shirts though. Actually,
To cover the
safety issue.
Yes.
Did you see Awful announcing aggregated? That was great.
Oh yeah, they did. They did. They ran with it.
Do you think that the home environment will be just a fine home environment? Do you think we'll get an angry Ole Miss crowd, like extra little pep in their step? Yeah, Tom, that's what I'm kind of wondering about. 3:30 or like midday kickoff is sort of prime Grove time. Like if this wanted to be like a huge sort of statement for the future of the Ole Miss football program, it would certainly be interesting to see it. I'm not sure if we'll get it yet. We haven't heard from the dentist yet. Well, I'm sure we will on Thursday. But I'll be curious to see what the headspace is for Ole Miss fans cheering for their next head coach with this year's team from the old head coach in a game that you should win by a lot, but I don't know how much confidence they have in this team going on a run to win it all. It's just curious if home field advantage, what it's like in the stadium here.
I think you're gonna have a big crowd. They're going to prove, hey,
I'm rooting for
we
that.
belong. Like we're a big time program. Our coach is the idiot for going to LSU. Like we are a legitimate. Like we've arrived. Like we ain't going nowhere type of crowd. Good.
I was gonna say, I also think it's not a rivalry, but there is a regional aspect to this matchup where Tulane is not very far away from Oxford. So I do think that it's.
If I'm a Tulane fan, I'm going, no question.
Yeah,
no doubt.
If I can go.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what needs to happen?
Lane to be there?
No, Lane to live tweet the game. Like if he just live tweets and hey, they should run this, they should do this, or this is that play, that'd be incredible.
I bet he stays real positive with it. And
yeah, I think so too.
Great play, him. Great play, like Trinidad. Lot of the flag, tweet.
Yeah.
So GGG in the chat is like, do you think if both these games are blowouts, you get rule changes? I don't think. No, I think if both, I think it's a business. So if the ratings are really bad, then yes.
But I also think, and people have pointed this out.
We had blowouts last
Tom has pointed that out a bunch. Blowouts you can't prevent from scheduling. You can't prevent those from happening.
It's more like is the run up and the hype for it so bad that like nobody turns it on?
I also think the result of Texas, Vanderbilt, Notre Dame being right on the outside is going to have way more impact than how these games turn out. Even if the group of 5 teams won these games, both of them, I still think you might see a tweak to the system just because they don't want to have the ratings will be impacted.
And a tweak to the system that would have kept Duke out too, like just by rule.
I'm totally
not
fine
opposed
with
to that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's WWE. They can put the money in the bank, whatever they want.
Exactly.
Whatever they want to set up. We like the real violence over here at Paramount. Okay, that's the way that we play it. UFC coming on Paramount Plus starting in January. All right. Anything else here? All right. Here we go. People been asking for it. They've been asking for it all show long. We can't let them wait any longer. Big game breakdown. James Madison headed out to Eugene to take on the Oregon Ducks. I think a lot of legitimately interesting questions for Oregon in terms of who's out there, which probably also includes do you need to rush them out there? And then also for JMU, the conversation is like, what has to happen for this to get a little bit uncomfortable for the Ducks? Like Tom, how do you put that together? Let's do that second part first. How do you put together something for JMU that can at least can inspire a little bit of confidence? Because as we referenced on Selection Day and have a lot since then, there was that Liberty game, and Dan Lanning's Ducks made very, very quick work of the Flames and let everyone know today was not going to be the day that the Ducks get upset. So what needs to happen for James Madison other than not what happened to Liberty?
Well, what James Madison does best and what James Madison tries to do on offense is run the football.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been very effective at it. That's their bread and butter. Northwestern, Penn State, Wisconsin, Iowa, and Washington have all been able to run the ball effectively against Oregon. Particularly Oregon's worst rush defense performance was in their last game against Washington. Like, if James Madison can figure out ways to keep the ball on the ground and move the ball against this defense, I don't think that means they can win, but I think they can make it far more uncomfortable than Oregon might want. And even going back to last year, remember Georgia Southern and Boise State, what did they do to Oregon? They ran the ball all over them. So there has been examples of these, smaller schools running the ball on this Ducks defense. So I think that is going to be the primary factor for James Madison in trying to find an avenue to compete. Also, we have to consider, like a lot of other schools, I mean, obviously James Madison's dealing with changeover of its own, but Oregon's losing both of its coordinators who have probably been spending some time getting ready for their new gigs at Kentucky and Cal. So how has that impacted their ability to prepare for this game? Will that lead to some mistakes, just like little slip-ups that you might ignore and not thought of? So I think that has to happen. And then the other side, like you talked about the Liberty game. That Liberty team was a throwing team that had a terrible defense. James Madison, we can point out their strength of schedule all we want, and there's plenty of signal to it. But the fact of the matter is, if you look statistically, this is the best defense playing this weekend. They're better than Oklahoma in a lot of stats. So, can they hold up? And it's like you want to immediately dismiss these guys because they're James Madison, but Indiana's entire defensive front is made up of James Madison players. They didn't seem to struggle too much when they went to the Big Ten. So I do think that maybe they will be somewhat – I don't think James Madison is going to win, but a fun prop bet to place would be who loses by more, James Madison or Tulane. I would bet on Tulane to lose by more than I would James Madison, just because I don't think this matchup is awful for the Dukes. And I haven't even mentioned all of Oregon's injuries yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is spot on, Tom. And it also plays in the question of pace.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're Oregon, how fast do you play this game?
Not very.
Like, you've got a big matchup coming up after this game, right? And I don't think you're holding everything back because you got to win the ball game. And I don't think you want to get into a situation where it's tight going into the fourth quarter necessarily, because that's a pain in the ass to deal with. But I do think it would make sense to not show it as much in terms of pace, right? Hey, we like our offensive line. We've run the ball against better bodies than what JMU has, just fine. Our receivers, is Decorian playing? haven't seen, right? He's having
Gary
Stewart back.
Bryant Jr.
Right. Sadiq went down against Washington.
Mhm.
So if you are really dinged up on offense, if you're Oregon, I think you play real slow, screens, trust Dante to make some throws when you need him to, but like lean on the run game, much like JMU does. And if both teams are trying to just lean on the run game, then you're looking at a pretty like slow pace game. We might be live at like, 10:45.
That's cool.
Probably not, but 11, which I'm not opposed to. Like for
If
sure.
the Bears game's still going, I'm not going to want to go live.
Also, the Louisville game, which we've all referenced as a 2-touchdown loss, it was a little uncomfortable for. I remember, I think there might have been in the group chat saying, "What's wrong with Louisville? Are they in trouble this year?"
Yeah.
And I mean, that game was pretty. Like James Madison was handling the lines of scrimmage pretty well. So I know it's been one that's used against them. This will be an interesting matchup. Alonzo Barnett too. I do think he's a little more versatile than Jake Retzlaff. He's a little bit more of a run threat. That can always be a headache, just for a defense to have to contain a quarterback like that. So I think it'll be interesting.
Yeah, it does get lost that James Madison was leading that game 14-6 into the third quarter.
Yeah.
So,
I do think, like, if you put together an all-star offensive line from every single team that JMU's played so far this year, I don't think Oregon would take that.
they would rather have their own.
No.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, yeah,
I think
a Louisville's offensive line is not great.
it's pretty.
No.
They're like secretly crappy. Yeah, like Louisville had to scheme around that a lot this year, and JMU gave them some problems for sure. Like JMU does have a really nice, G6 defense, and I think they could give Oregon some problems here for a little bit defensively. Offensively, I don't know. Like watching this, like Barnett does not throw the ball well outside the numbers. I think if you're Oregon, you're like, man, these outside receivers are not scary.
Yeah.
And we faced a lot better at receiver than we do this game on a week-to-week basis in the Big Ten. Barnett's not a great thrower. So again, I think a lot of this plays to pace, right? Like, hey, can he pick up some of these third and mediums with his legs, keep the clock running, churn this thing. I don't think JMU's going to go crazy tempo here. I would not. So I think that's the recipe to keep it close. It's just low scoring, ugly. Oregon doesn't want to show much. We'll see who plays for Oregon. And who knows, like in that game, if you get an 8 or 9 possession game, turnover or 2 all of a sudden flips this thing.
Oregon ran it 41 times against USC, ran it 42 times against Washington. As the wide receivers have gone down, they have leaned on that deep running back room, which has also had some injury issues as well. And behind that big offensive line, that would definitely be, in my mind, I do not think Dan Lanning, like you said, Bud, he does not want to be, he wants this to be over so the fourth quarter's not stressful. But I could see we're not rushing DeCorian back. If it's a coin flip of whether he can play or not, we're going to say, hey, listen, the game plan that we had to beat USC and Washington should be good enough to beat JMU at home. Like they travel 2,800 miles out here. They've got a head coach who's going to UCLA. Like there is a lot that should be able to roll out the same kind of game plan they had at the end of the season, win the game along both lines of scrimmage. But
I like the middle of Oregon's defense.
like
the backers and Dylan at safety. I think those are really important pieces here because we know JMU just does not. They don't throw the ball outside very well. So if you're Oregon, I think it's like we're going to make you prove you can beat us on the outside.
But we like the whole line, like end to end. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Agreed.
This was an interesting note. And this is the great signal noise thought because of the source. So Kenyon Barner, I was breaking down this game with the former Oregon running back, and he said, this team, little bit slow to start out of off weeks. And I went back and I looked at it and I was like, okay, so they had an off week before Indiana, which is obviously not the Ducks' best performance, but it was Indiana. They had an off week before Iowa, but it was Iowa, a team that I think is pretty good. Also the conditions. So given obviously the source there, Kenyon Barner making a note, and the results certainly, suggest that might be something to take away, but so do the opponents. You think there's something to that? Oregon being a little slow start out of a layoff?
I think the opponents had a lot to do with it more than anything.
Also, I would say sample set.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do we have a big enough sample set of landing off a layoff to definitively say like he's not good with extra time? I would doubt that.
Yeah, so UCLA was the example from last season where they jumped out to a 28-10 lead and just kind of sat on it the rest of the way. Before that, they did have a layoff going into the Washington game, but that Washington game was the Michael Penix-Bo Nix game, which was what? You go for it on the 4th down instead of kicking the field goal. Penix has that unbelievable touchdown right at the end of the game. That was a coin flip classic. Both teams looked very prepared. So maybe it's more of a vibes related thought where it just feels like just takes a little bit to get the juices flowing. And I will say, undoubtedly, Indiana punched first in the loss in Autzen earlier this season. That was an Indiana team that was more ready for the start of that game than Oregon was. And it, was tough, obviously, to recover. And they didn't in what was eventually a 10-point loss.
You also had to respect
James
him as a
Madison
thrower.
players.
With James Madison players.
Yeah.
If James Madison wins, this is going to be like some real curse of JMU for Oregon. Losing to the old JMU coach.
Have they talked?
Players.
That's what I'm saying.
Are Sig and Chesney, are they tight like that?
I don't know if they're tight like that, but I could see, I don't know.
If you're Indiana, you do not want to have to face Oregon a second time. So if I'm Sig, I'm talking to Bob.
You're giving them the whole game plan.
No doubt.
Everything.
Does Dan Lanning have a James Madison problem?
I would say like one of the real key differences is that Indiana has the Heisman Trophy winner at quarterback, and JMU is a guy who's not gonna play professional football as a quarterback.
Right. Hey, that man looks like he could win a Grey Cup though.
Dude, yeah.
And I do not say, hey, I'm not saying that disparagingly. It takes a certain skill set to be able to find great success at that level.
A purple and gold problem.
Ooh, with Washington in there too.
Yeah,
that's good stuff. All right. Anything else here, and then we'll hit a break and then go into some portal and coaching talk.
I like Jamie's back a lot.
Running back.
I watched Jamie during the season, but I went back and watched just try to make this more interesting, right? And I do think he's a dude. Mac is not Mac. Wayne Knight. Excuse me.
Wayne Knight. Yeah, the guy from Seinfeld.
Right.
Yeah. He's nice.
The Dilophosaurus spit in his face when he was trying to get the dino DNA off the island. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, but you know what?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Thought, if Wayne Knight scores a touchdown in this game, I'm going to tweet the "See Nobody Cares" meme from Jurassic Park.
There you go. Coming up on the other side, very, very busy happenings on the transfer portal front. Plus, the latest as Kalen DeBoer announces, commitment to Alabama with Michigan rumors abound. All that and more next.
When you need your sports news all the time,
We've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
Back here on the Cover 3 podcast. As we mentioned, there was some breaking news this morning regarding DJ Lagway, plus some other announcements as well. So let's jump into the portal. Well, DJ Lagway announced on his Instagram page he will be entering the portal. And while, again, I will remind you that just because you enter the portal does not mean that you are necessarily gone. It could be an opportunity. Buddy, when he says thank you, Gainesville, and includes all the languages that are like, deuces, I'm gone. Yeah, he's out. Now we've got DJ Lagway potentially on the market, maybe some other Gators following in his wake. What's the market looking like for DJ Lagway?
I would say pretty strong.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he's going the G5 route.
Yeah. I think you look at what he did last year against Ole Miss and LSU. I think he should have just sat out this year. I don't think the guy ever looked healthy or comfortable at all. He didn't get a real off season. That's not to say he didn't regress. I think he did, but obviously, they had a fired coach in Gainesville as well. I mean, there's some teams out there who are going to need some quarterbacks. He's from Texas. I don't think A&M needs one, but like Baylor does.
Baylor, you think Texas Tech's going to have their mind elsewhere? Think Will Hammond is definitely the future coming off a? I mean, if you get 2 banged up quarterbacks, we'll just see which one's healthy.
I thought we already got Dylan Raiola going to Texas Tech.
So he can wear number 15?
Yeah.
Texas Tech and Miami are going to be connected to every big quarterback that hits the portal.
Did you see the tweet about the cosplaying Mahomes with the ACL?
Yes.
Oh my God.
I think
Amazing,
Tom
dude.
retweeted that one. Tom brought that one to our attention.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Get better, Pat.
Like, you know,
Is that true? Did Lagway's dad go to Baylor?
Chat
Zachary
says
put
it
that in
has
the
to be
chat.
true.
I know, right?
there is a coach out there, really good developing quarterbacks, who Lagway has played pretty darn well against twice, especially.
Lane train.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're a Florida fan and Lane all of a sudden unlocks Lagway and he's awesome, that's going to sting.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Which might be the 100% of the reason Lane's interested.
Like,
It's just a troll.
Miami needs a quarterback. If Sellers is staying, like that's a guy off the market potentially. So you kind of have to mention Miami in any of these conversations with a quarterback that has a chance to play at a high level. I'm not saying Lagway's guaranteed to play at a high level, but ability-wise, there's not that many guys out here who have that kind of ability.
Mm-hmm.
Are we just assuming that Miami has the resources, the coaching, they remain attractive, they're just going to be able to play this, give me your NFL draft pick every single year and just keep recycling them?
They don't recruit quarterback at high school very well at all,
right?
So far, and I don't think they spend a whole lot on it. So my guess is they're saving their money for the QB portal.
From a roster building standpoint,
yeah,
you think that's something that they can just keep doing?
And unless they're out of money,
right.
I would assume so.
I mean, that's the thing is, like, Cam Ward was great. They shouldn't have blown a 21-point lead to Syracuse, or else they would have been, in the ACC championship last year. Carson Beck was good enough to be able to get them to the college football playoff for the first time. I mean, did you know that in 20 years of being an ACC member, it's only now Miami's had back-to-back 10-win seasons?
Mm-hmm.
I did know that.
The Mario Chris, I mean, it's worked. That's what I'm saying. If they can keep spending and if they can keep hitting, well, man, that first whiff or that first injury could end up being pretty dicey in terms of keeping everything moving.
They're in a little bit of a spot here. Not a spot. It's an interesting situation to monitor because they lose a lot of important players off this roster at Miami this year.
Mm-hmm.
And they have recruited well, and I think they'll have some young guys in the pipeline who are ready. But you do lose some special players. You look at the draft, the mock drafts that are coming out. It's 2 of the top 10 picks, right, on the line of scrimmage with
Maui-Goa and Bain.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, can you take a strategic step back? I don't think you can because you're in the ACC, right? Like if you're Miami, you're look at our path. It's pretty much a cakewalk if we handle business. So why would we not push all in again?
I did this on the day trading segment. I'm a sell on Lagway. Some of these 5 stars that come out, they have so much potential, and it's not only inconsistent play, but the injuries and the type of injuries.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and the shoulder, which is still a major issue, that he hasn't gotten surgically repaired. What's going on with that? I don't know. I hope he turns it around. I'd love to see to be proven wrong, but I just feel like some of these guys, they're almost like first-round picks in the NFL, where if you're a top 10 pick, you're going to get an opportunity another time. Sometimes it works. We've seen guys like Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield in the NFL do it. Sometimes we've seen these quarterbacks go other places and have success, but I don't know. I'm a little bit out on DJ Lagway.
What about what's the takeaway from Lenoris Sellers reportedly nearing a deal to commit to South Carolina? That's another name that we thought could be a big piece on the move, attracting a lot of attention in terms of the transfer portal market. A South Carolina fan is happy. Is that the best spot for Lenoris Sellers? I mean,
clearly he's pretty hyped about the Kendall Briles hire. He feels like he's going to be able to thrive in that offense.
Without knowing the number, it's hard to say.
Mm-hmm.
Is South Carolina willing to overpay such a premium to get him to stay? Then maybe it is. I mean, quarterbacks are making life-changing money now in college. So possibly, I think from an NFL perspective, there's a lot of skepticism about the Kendall Briles offense. So, like, if you're sellers, are you like, hey, South Carolina, you just hired a guy that like not a lot of dudes have come out of this system and played well in the NFL, right? Like you see all the NFL evaluators when they were talking about not Dobbs, Tennessee guy. Who got hurt.
Hendon Hooker.
Right. Like that type of stuff. It's like, hey, is this really prepping you for the next level? If I'm sellers, I'm like, hey, I'll stay, but you're going to pay for my potential lack of development in this offense.
Yeah. Obviously, Kendall Briles changes that a little bit. Also, if you're Shane Beamer and you did not have Lenora Sellers, are you just worried that the product on the field is just not going to be good enough for you to be able to keep this thing moving? I mean, Shane Beamer had to get an announcement that Shane Beamer will be back.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of value to, because I mean, Sellers was a big recruit for them to get. So I just think as far as PR wise for Shane Beamer, keeping him in that program is important, kind of a win. But I also wonder, because part of what we're discussing, whereas NFL teams are kind of dismissive of those quarterbacks, is that it does feel like with that offense, there's a lot more kind of plug and play-ish feel to it. So you do wonder, just from a roster construction standpoint, if South Carolina might have been better off investing that money into other positions and bringing in more of a cheaper quarterback, like a Joey Aguilar type, who seemed to be pretty effective at running that for Tennessee, and to see if they could build out the roster around it. Now, I don't know what their financial situation is. Maybe they've still got plenty of money to go around and rebuild the rest of that team. But I do wonder from a roster construction standpoint if this is the wisest move for South Carolina.
I do think that South Carolina, though, like they have the schedule next year to make a bowl, right? Like, look at this. So in the non-con, they get Kent State, they get Towson, you get Mississippi State at home, you get Kentucky at home, you're at Florida, you're likely a dog there. You also get Arkansas on the schedule, and you're at Clemson, but Clemson loses a ton.
Mm-hmm.
So like most of their difficult games next year are on the road. Okay, like you get Georgia, obviously, but like
that's what you want. Though. We talked about that in win total season, big time. If you are not at the very top of your conference, you want all the hard games to be scheduled losses on the road.
Yeah, like if winning the conference is not an actual goal for your program, if South Carolina, realistically, it's not.
Right.
Like being able to make a bowl is important. That's still an accomplishment for some of these low-level SEC teams, and it's important to get there. And with the 9-game conference schedule, like who you draw is really important.
What else? Interesting comment from Grant in the tailgate. He said, will we see more posts like USC, Southern Cal, announcing that players have re-signed? I think yes.
Yeah, like
it's a genius marketing move.
That's what I was saying. I was like, I think I would be telling my personnel department, my social media team that, yeah, we should celebrate this. Our fans would get excited, even if it is just like a formality. It just drums up the like, oh, that guy was Wayman Jordan was great last year when he was healthy. Like let's go, let's get him back, let's get excited for what we're gonna do in 2026. So I do think we're gonna see a lot more announcements like that.
A couple names hit the portal since the show started, by the way.
Was Dallas Wilson one of them?
No, but quarterbacks. The bigger name will be Aiden Giles, has entered the transfer portal. But the one I think is not the big name, but I think could be somebody who's at a P4 next year and playing pretty well. Caton Hauser from East Carolina is a kid that I've seen the last few years that I find very intriguing, and I'm wondering where he's going.
Where did the OC? Where did John David Baker go?
I don't know.
He is headed to Ole Miss to go be Pete Golding's new offensive coordinator.
Maybe he's dead.
Yeah, John David Baker was at Ole Miss before he got hired over. That would be a potential landing spot. But I mean, you got to figure out what you're doing with Ole Miss's quarterbacks after the playoff run as well. But that would be somewhere where I'd keep an eye on. Baker calling the plays for Hauser's good season. But yeah, he's a good player. So we had 2 former Michigan State quarterbacks, Caton Hauser and Aiden Childs. What about Childs? Is anybody going to unlock anything with this? Danny, is this like another 5-star where we're just selling like, I don't know. I hope he does well. Wish him the best in all of his future endeavors.
Right. And, I mean, system matters, system fits, supporting talent. Who do you have around you? Like that stuff does matter. But Aiden Childs did struggle to throw it to the right team an awful lot.
Yeah.
Do we think that just because we got a nice little statement about Kalen DeBoer's commitment to Alabama and Alabama's commitment to the future of the Tide. Are we putting that to bed? Is Kalen DeBoer, do you feel confident saying that Kalen DeBoer is not going to be a part of the Michigan coaching search or moving forward?
Yeah.
What was his announcement officially?
He put out a statement with Yay Alabama, said he's not going anywhere. He's had no interest. He's not going anywhere. I don't know, all these, I kind of believe him. I'd be surprised if he left, but not floored, not absolutely shocked. I mean, again, and I know if you're a Bama fan and you get run in the first round of the playoffs, they'll probably be. I think that's why people keep assuming this could be a possibility.
The other side of that argument, though, is like, say Alabama loses and they run him out of town. He's gone. He doesn't even leave on his own. Who's Alabama hiring at this point?
Right.
You probably do everything you can to keep him around for another year, and then you decide if things get off to a whatever start next year, then we move on.
I would also say it's probably, like, reading the tea leaves, he probably really likes Keelan Russell.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Because you could go coach Bryce right now, we think, if you're DeBoer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you probably think you really have something with some of those young classes you've signed.
And I do think that there were a couple of games this season when I like little stray note, like, wow, a lot of young players are like making plays right now. They're getting run, they're getting snaps, they're playing well. I think that, I mean, obviously if they're on the field, I think Alabama has to like the quality of the player that they've gotten in these first couple Kalen DeBoer signing classes. So, yeah, I tell you what, it was enough that I did not even think to include in preparation for the game, like maybe I did, like, oh, okay, so Michigan, we said, who does Indiana want to play? It's like, so Michigan's watching this game, right? Just like the Iron Bowl, we're sitting there, we're watching to see if he's going to lose. I don't think that's the case. I think Kalen DeBoer is coaching Alabama in 2026. I could be wrong. Lots could happen. Curveballs always come out of nowhere, but I will take that statement as Kalen DeBoer wants to be back in the black hoodie in Tuscaloosa next fall.
So where does Michigan turn? I mean, Jed Fish, I think, is the leader in the sports odds makers, but who the heck knows if that's real? He did have an impressive performance against Boise. And what type of timetable is Michigan in a time crunch? Are they rushing this?
I have no idea. I mean, there's a whole other investigation going on in Michigan's athletic department right now. I don't know who's going to make the hire.
A lot of Dillingham, like a lot of Michigan fans thinking that they had Dillingham. A lot of, like you mentioned, the odds and the market seem to be going in the direction of a Jed Fish, and he kind of had an interesting response. Like there's his response during the LA Bowl media day when he said, like, yeah, come on, like very, very, very loose. And then there was I expect, not a denial. I don't know. Do you think it happened? How about this? Just game planning. Do we think that Michigan's going to hire a coach this week?
No.
I have no idea.
I don't think they do.
I think they might be. And I think maybe they're curious to see if Kalen DeBoer, just how serious he is about that statement.
Yeah. What about the Dillingham stuff?
He said the same thing. He's coming back. He doesn't want to go anywhere.
I mentioned it last week. I think there's a lot of uncertainty around who's going to be in charge. And I think that's causing a lot of names that would certainly be interested in that gig to just be a little hesitant about it.
Recruits are asking out of their national letter of intent. I mean,
I don't think that's having it, but yeah.
What?
I don't think that's having an impact, but yeah.
Well, I'm just like the overall, like what it you could describe, like, I don't think we are at dumpster fire status, but if you wanted to describe the Michigan job, the head of the Michigan football program as a volatile position right now, then I would probably agree with that assessment.
What if Tom Brady serves as interim coach for a year?
I'm telling
you, like a Frank Reich situation.
That would be Biff. I mean, like not really.
I could see that being like a Biff for 1 year kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We'll see.
One last thing on this, just speaking of like freshman class and stuff, I did hear that Georgia like loves their young players and knows it's going to be like really expensive to try to keep them all, and that like that also played into some of the recruiting stuff. Like they still signed a great class, but like I think that they really hit on the last 2 classes, and like they're so just hearing that I'm like, oh, all right, Georgia may be your like number 2 favorite next year.
Well, that's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons why I like them maybe to win it all. Is that you've got a team that admittedly by Kirby's own analysis was super young and inexperienced at the beginning of the season. They've had all season to be able to mature. They've dealt with injury issues. They've had to plug and play some pieces. Now they're hitting the playoff with their hair on fire. You know,
he did talk a lot about how you had to play young guys in this era. Like you got to get something from your young dudes.
So we of course will get a chance to get our full breakdowns of expectations for the Bulldogs that once we get through with the first round, and they as the 3 seed will await the winner of Ole Miss and Tulane. For those who don't have the bracket in front of you, the Alabama-Oklahoma game will play into the Rose Bowl with Indiana. The Oregon James Madison game will play into the Orange Bowl with Texas Tech. We just mentioned Ole Miss Tulane playing into Georgia, and then Ohio State will be in the Cotton Bowl awaiting the winner of Miami and Texas A&M. One last piece here. We did not get a chance to address it. Do you think Kyle Whittingham is a head coach in 2026? Because we know it won't be it. Because we know it won't be at Utah. He is stepping down, and he did not use the word retire. We are stepping down.
I think Kyle's riding the motorcycle off into the sunset.
I think he's a classic coach who doesn't love the way things have gone. He's made enough money. I think he's riding off into the sunset too.
On Lagway,
at least for a couple years.
Yeah.
On Lagway, Hummer reported, this is a tweet, DJ Lagway wanted to stay at Florida, but the initial meetings between Lagway and new staff did not go well, according to multiple sources, told CBS Sports on the split and what comes next for a former 5-star recruit. So read that now on CBS.
Maybe Buster Faulkner talked to Danny.
Right.
Buster's like, I don't know, man. I think we can do better, you know?
I think a change of scenery could do him better, by the way.
Agreed.
Like that's probably kind of
I think so too. Yeah.
Will be very interesting. All right. You can find us next on CBS Sports Network on Tuesday, noon Eastern time. After the show, you'll be able to get it on demand wherever you get your podcasts and on youtube.com/cover3. Then we will be back on Wednesday on YouTube, youtube.com/cover3 for more analysis from the coaching carousel, the transfer portal, and so much more. DK, where are you?
I'm at the Breakers Resort here in West Palm Beach. Yeah, I'm going to go out. It's a little windy today, Tom. It's a little chilly.
Did you ride your bike over there?
71. That's a little bit more than a bike ride. About 20, 25 minutes from the crib. Little golf tournament tomorrow.
There we go.
So you got to check in early, get ready.
Yeah. Get my mind right.
Gotta get the mind and body right.
So we'll be back Wednesday with more analysis from the coaching carousel, news from around college football. Then Thursday, college football playoff locks. 11 a.m. as always. You know what to do. And one more time, if you want to compete against us in the bowl pick'em, it is splashsports.com/cover3. Again, splashsports.com/cover3. Free entry to be able to get in. And looks like there's different weeks. Like there's the holiday slate, there's the New Year's Eve locks, there's the New Year's Bowl locks. So an entirely new competition. We hope that you will come and join us. Splashsports.com/cover3 for the official Cover 3 Bowl Pick'em. And you can follow him on Twitter at Tom Fornelli. You can follow him at Bud Elliott3. You can follow me at Chip_Patterson. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
See y'all.